No one saw it coming. From the abyssal depths of interstellar space, an anomaly emerged. A micro black hole, a singularity of infinite density, no larger than a city block, yet possessing the gravitational might of a small star. Invisible, silent, insatiably deadly. As this cosmic predator grazed our orbital path, its unfathomable gravity exerted tidal forces beyond comprehension. It didn't collide, it stripped. Oceans, vast and deep, were not merely drained but gravitationally siphoned. Rivers vanished, their courses becoming instant canyons of dust. Even the atmospheric moisture, the very clouds that cradled our world, were ripped away, leaving a vacuum of desiccation. In a single cataclysmic night, Earth was rendered utterly dry. But this was only the beginning, a brutal reminder of cosmic indifference and the fragility of life itself. What happens when water is gone forever? Let's face this apocalyptic reality. In the first hour, panic consumed the world. Billions turned on their taps. Only silence. The oceans, cradle of life, were gone. Where blue once stretched, there were endless plains of dust. Majestic ships lay stranded, grotesque monuments on a dry seabed. The rhythm of waves was gone, replaced by a suffocating silence. The air felt alien, heavy, and bone-dry, stealing moisture from everything it touched. Birds fell from the sky, their final chirps lost. Even the breeze turned harsh and empty, carrying only the scent of dust and doom. The initial shock gave way to a desperate, futile scramble. What would be your first instinct in that moment of absolute clarity? Would you desperately search for a non-existent source of water? Or would the sheer, overwhelming scale of the catastrophe simply paralyze you into despair? Tell us your immediate reaction in the comments below. The human body, a marvel of biological engineering, is approximately 60% water. Without this vital solvent, our complex systems rapidly begin to fail. Survival beyond 3 days becomes a statistical impossibility. The early stages of dehydration are insidious. Losing just 10% of the body's water causes serious consequences. Cognitive impairment, leading to hallucinations, disorientation, and a terrifying loss of self-awareness. Inside the body, collapse was brutal. Blood thickened into sludge, the heart strained, kidneys failed, and the brain shrank into seizures and silence. Plants withered to dust, animals turned to husks. Humanity, once dominant, was already on the edge of extinction. On the grimly ironic bright side, there would be no more rain to ruin your weekend plans. On the infinitely darker side, you wouldn't live long enough to appreciate such a triviality. This was merely the first day. Tomorrow, the cosmic indifference would deepen its grip, and the consequences would become unimaginably worse. By the end of the first week, the intricate, interconnected web of human civilization began its irreversible unraveling. Power plants, reliant on vast quantities of water for cooling and steam generation, sputtered and died. Nuclear reactors, deprived of their critical coolant, began to overheat, threatening meltdowns that would unleash a new, terrifying wave of localized devastation. The very infrastructure that sustained billions became a monument to our dependence on a resource now utterly absent. Agriculture, the bedrock of human sustenance, ceased to exist. Fields, once verdant with life, were now vast expanses of cracked, sterile earth. Livestock, deprived of water and forage, perished en masse, their carcasses quickly desiccating under the relentless, dry sun. Rivers, once arteries of commerce and life, were nothing more than gaping fissures in the parched landscape, their beds revealing ancient geological strata. Imagine, if you can, a supermarket with shelves stripped bare, not by panic buying, but by the absolute cessation of production and transport. What would be your desperate priority in such a scenario? Would you instinctively reach for the last remaining packaged food, or would the primal urge for hydration drive you to that single dusty bottle of soda, knowing it might be the last liquid you ever see. Even if you found a drink, it would be a fleeting reprieve. Without rain, without rivers, without any natural hydrological cycle, there would be no way to replenish it. Every precious sip would bring you closer to your final, agonizing moment. The silence of a dying world would be punctuated only by the desperate, rasping breaths of the last survivors. After a mere month, the transformation of Earth was stark and terrifyingly complete. Cities, once bustling metropolises, became ghost towns, their structures slowly succumbing to the relentless forces of erosion without the mitigating presence of moisture. Streets once paved with asphalt were now choked with fine, abrasive sand carried by ceaseless planet-wide sandstorms. Skyscrapers, once symbols of human ambition, stood like skeletal tombstones, their glass eyes reflecting a sky devoid of clouds, a world utterly alien. The Earth, once the vibrant blue marble, now bore an uncanny resemblance to Mars, the desolate red planet. Billions of years ago, Mars too possessed vast oceans, evidence of which is etched into its ancient geological features. Scientists theorize that entire seas once covered its surface, nurturing a potential for life that was ultimately extinguished. But those oceans vanished, stripped away by solar winds and a weakening magnetic field, leaving behind a frigid, arid desert world. Now Earth was following the same inexorable, catastrophic fate. The very atmosphere began to thin, its composition altering as biological processes ceased and dust became the dominant particulate. The planet's albedo changed dramatically, reflecting more solar radiation, yet paradoxically leading to extreme temperature fluctuations. But what happens when the planet itself, not just its surface, begins to collapse under such unprecedented stress? The answer is a terrifying testament to the delicate balance of planetary mechanics. After a year, the geological stability of Earth began to catastrophically degrade. Without the lubricating presence of water which permeates the Earth's crust and mantle, the tectonic plates, once gliding slowly, began to seize and crack. The planet's internal stresses, normally dissipated by the fluid dynamics of its interior, now manifested as hyper-violent seismic events. Earthquakes of unprecedented magnitude tore through continents, ripping apart land masses and reshaping the very topography of the planet. Volcanoes, their internal pressures unchecked by the absence of groundwater interactions, erupted with a ferocity never before witnessed. Vast plumes of ash and toxic gases spewed into the already thin atmosphere, further obscuring the sun. But there were no rains, no atmospheric moisture to wash these choking clouds away. They lingered, creating a perpetual twilight, a suffocating shroud over a dying world. Simultaneously, the Earth's magnetic field, a vital shield against the harsh realities of space, began to weaken. The precise mechanisms are complex, but the absence of water's role in geological processes, coupled with the planet's internal thermal changes, could disrupt the geodynamo. Deadly solar radiation, once deflected, now flooded the planet's surface, scorching everything it touched, sterilizing the last vestiges of microbial life. Could humanity, in its final desperate ingenuity, have survived underground, constructing artificial biospheres in vast, subterranean oceans and colossal caves? Would you have chosen to descend into that claustrophobic, uncertain future, clinging to a sliver of hope? Or would the sheer, overwhelming scale of the apocalypse have compelled you to simply give up, accepting the inevitable? Decades later, Earth was utterly unrecognizable. It had become a silent, desolate tomb, a dry, lifeless desert world with wild, extreme temperature swings. By day, the exposed surface baked under the unfiltered solar radiation, reaching temperatures that would instantly vaporize any remaining organic matter. By night, without the insulating blanket of atmospheric moisture, temperatures plummeted to freezing, creating a brutal, unforgiving cycle of thermal stress. The oceans, once the defining feature of our blue planet, were now nothing more than ancient myths, whispered legends of a time when water flowed freely. Rivers were forgotten tales, their courses etched as faint, geological scars on a barren landscape. Clouds, once a common sight, existed only in stories told to children. If, by some miracle, any children had survived the initial cataclysm and the subsequent decades of unimaginable hardship. The last desperate traces of humanity, if they ever existed beyond the first few years, were long gone. Only ruins remained, buried deep beneath shifting dunes of sand, silent testaments to a civilization that once dared to dream on a planet that ultimately proved too fragile. But what if the micro-black hole had only siphoned off the surface oceans, leaving vast reservoirs of underground water untouched? In such a scenario, humanity might have clung to existence for a little longer, driven by a desperate collective will to survive. Deep drilling technologies would have been deployed, reaching for subterranean aquifers and vast hidden lakes. These underground oases could have bought us years, perhaps even centuries, a temporary reprieve from the ultimate desiccation. However, even with underground water, the planet's fate would remain sealed. Without surface water, the atmospheric moisture would still vanish, leading to the same extreme temperature swings and the eventual thinning of the atmosphere. The planet would still die, albeit at a slightly slower, more agonizing pace. History offers us chilling precedents for the power of drought. The collapse of the Akkadian Empire, the mysterious decline of the Maya civilization, even the struggles of ancient Egypt, all were profoundly impacted by prolonged periods of drought. But those were mere droughts, temporary aberrations in the hydrological cycle. Imagine zero water, anywhere, forever. How long do you truly believe humanity, with all its ingenuity and resilience, would last in such an utterly waterless world? Days, weeks, months, years? Write your most honest guess below. The micro-black hole, an indifferent cosmic entity, stole every single drop of water from Earth. Our vibrant blue planet, once teeming with life, is gone, replaced by a silent, desiccated rock, a barren sphere drifting through the cold, indifferent vacuum of space. It is a stark, terrifying reminder of our planet's profound vulnerability in a universe of unimaginable forces. But here's the truly scarier thought, a concept that will haunt your waking moments. What if this wasn't just Earth? What if our entire universe, with all its galaxies, stars, and potential for life, is already, unknowingly, inside a black hole? A cosmic event horizon beyond which lies an unknown fate. Subscribe now, because in the next video we'll dive into that terrifying, mind-bending possibility, exploring the scientific theories that suggest our reality might be nothing more than a singularity's interior. Don't miss it.